So now we'll see the data adapter part and data set. So data reader, as discussed, is your connection oriented data reader. You can actually, for data reader, it's mandated to have connection as a live, right? Because it actually reads data set by set, right? So whenever you query database, right? So if there are 1,000 rows, right? So it won't actually retrieve all 1,000 rows at once. So as you read row by row, because data reader is a one direction. You can actually read data in one direction. Like if you actually go to the first row, right? And if first row is completed and you have moved to the second row, then that's it. You can't actually get back to the first row. Right? That's how data reader actually works. Whereas the data adapter and data set provides a disconnected way of data access, which doesn't need a live connection, where in one shot, whenever you're actually getting data adapter, then the way of data adapter, how we can actually run the command is different, right? So you'll be getting a complete data set at once, and then you'll be using them to actually process the data without being connection alive. Right? So let's see how we can actually do that. So let me create a new class over here. Also, let me call it as scale data adapter part. So here, I can create a main. So we can actually copy from the connection part, right? Because the connections, anyways, we have to do it now. And let me keep this connection because we have to do stuff. Let me resolve it up. We need a data script line and system.data, and then finally let's close this. Now this connection, in the connection part everything is fine, so that you don't have to change it. Now let me open the storage website. Till this gets open, right? Because we have to change the SP which we are working on now. So the previous working on, if you can see that we were actually using the command, right? And the command that we have to provide, so which is either in SP or a plain query which you can provide. Right? Based on that, whenever you call different methods, execute or execute execute non-query, right? It actually give you data, right? And here, adapter is something which is from command, your adapter will be actually automatically called. Like if you actually use the adapter, right? Internally, it will actually call command to get all the data at one shot. So we don't need to call a command separately. So here we have something called SQL data adapter. Right? So let me call it as SQL data adapter. Now here we have overridden functions for that. Now either you can provide a direct command, right? If you, as I said, with SQL data adapter, right? we need again a command, you can directly give your command parameters in here, that your connection or a command text and your connection. So let's give the command text. So command text is, let me just copy this SP name, right, and the connection. So the connection is a copy. Right. We are providing this so that whenever you provide command text in this, right, so this will internally call your command to SQL. Now, so your SQL data adapter and your data set will work together. Now, whenever you actually get the SQL data adapter, right, so a data adapter will actually pull the data. And we can't use data adapter directly to read the data. So instead, how we can actually use the data is, so we have something called data set, right, that we call as DS. So this data set is like a folder, is like a data folder. So this SQL data adapter will put the data, and that can be from a single table or multiple tables, right? So SQL data adapter will have got actually the feature to retrieve data or multiple data sets from different or from same or different tables at a time. Right? If you are getting multiple table data set values, right, you can actually feed the data into data set. I'll show you what exactly the statement I made now. Right, we'll actually see that one. In the SQL itself we'll see. So let me just open up databases using database using school. So school, programming tool, SPs. So let me just edit this. So here as of now you have a single call where you have to actually provide your roll number, parent name, so that you can retrieve, right? So that's what we have actually done. So let me just run it. So we have execute your SP name, right? And then we have to provide, let me just run this part. So you have to provide roll number. Let's provide roll number as 4. And your parent name, right? So let me just copy parent name, parent. You can see here, when I run this data with 4 and then 2, we'll get 1 data set. Right? So let's see how you can actually retrieve from our table. Now you have your get students table and your data set table. Now, but for our get students table, we have to provide a command, a parameters, right? So even before parameters, we have to actually make this SQL data adapter understand that we are not providing a plain query, but we are providing a store position, right? For that, we have SQL adapter SQL or select command dot, we have something called command type, right? It's equal to command stores. Now this will actually make sure that whatever data you are providing, right, is your command, is your SPL, which you call it. And then provide all the parameters you have. Say select command dot add, or you can say parameters dot add this value, right? So that's the reason why if you are more comfortable with the command, right, which we have already created, SQL command, you can directly provide this, right? If you want, you can directly copy this up and you can just give command cmd over here. Even that will work, right? Or else you can actually do it. So let me just copy this. I'll also show you how we can actually use that. Let's say we have a command here, right? We already have a command. Now what you can do is you can just copy this part, and instead of providing separate SP and all, you can just provide your C. Right? I mean, you don't need to provide a separate things. But this will also work. You have already created a command and then you are giving the adapter. Right? This will work. Or, so why I'm actually giving this way so that you can actually understand how to actually directly use SQL adapter without depending on command. Right? To only add value, let me just copy this code and this, and also we have one more parameter to add, right, which is student name or student heading name. Let's go ahead. Now you have SQL data adapter which require your student roll number as one parameter and your parent name as second parameter. Now your adapter is ready. Right? Now once your adapter is ready, now it's time to execute the query or SP whatever you have provided and get the data. Now how to do that? So here in SQL adapter we have internal function called fill, which is SQL query dot you have something called fill. You can see an equal fill, right? So this fill method will internally execute the data, retrieve the data, and it will keep it ready to dump into some data set. Now we have to provide a data set. Let's say I'm giving some DSO, right? So this will dump whatever data it is retrieving into this data set. Now data will be there in your data set object. And your SQL adapter will help you to run the execute the query, do the connection, whatever you have made, and get the data, and it will dump into the data set. Which means data set is a main source of information we have, or source of result we have to data. Right? Now let's see how to read data from data set. Now data set is combination of tables actually. So internal to data set we have all data tables. Right? Each and every cell. Now you can see whenever I execute the SP, like you are getting one row, right? Now this one row will not be a separate row in data set. It will be a table in this data set. Okay? Let's see how to do that. Let me call it as dt1 is equal to the ds dot tables. It will have all tables. I mean, it will have array of tables. Or you can give, let's say, because I know the table is there for first features. Now it's time to read the data from table. Data table is a set of rows, right? So all your data table contains some multiple rows. So here you can see, let me just iterate through this. So that for each, now I take data row, right, in collection called dt1, which is my table dot rows. Now you can see here, what I am doing is, your data set contains tables, and I am reading one table, and I am saving it to my data one. And in your data table 1, we know that there will be multiple rows. And what we are doing, we are actually reading each row, data row. Data row is a separate class we have, right? And your data table contains multiple rows and data table. Now, your data table will have data rows and data columns. You will also have to read the cells, right? So for that, what you can do is you can read your data columns. So let me put on one more for each. Read data column. Let me call it as data row as dr and data column as dc. Now each dr, right, or sorry, each dt one, right? We have here columns. This is all. Now let's print the data. This will right. Line. Now what we have to or I would say right or what do we need to print? We have to print the row which is data row of. Now you can see in each data row we will have multiple columns. So you can provide a DC which is a data. This is a data. We have a data table. In data table we have multiple rows. Perfect. You are okay with that. And in multiple rows, to read each and every cell, we need a data column. Right? We have to take a data column. That's the reason why we are going, okay, in each row, what is the data column we want? We are creating. Right? So that's how a loop of each happens. And then, let's say you have console dot and that's it. So this is how you can read one single data set using data table. Now let's run this. So let me remove this static. Remove it here. So let's just run this and see how it works. Now here you can see your reading, your connection was successful, and you can see we have read the data. Let me just do some meaningful space here. Right, now you can see we have data 3 space your name, email ID, parent's name, created date type. Right, now we have provided your 3 and 10 and you got the data. Right, now this is how we actually get the data. Now let me show you, let me just debug this and show you how it is working. Now here you can see your data set is filled. Now you can see that your data set will contain multiple tables. You go to tables here, you can see we have multiple tables. Table collection. Now let me debug. Now you can see we actually retrieve one data table. Right? And let me watch it in quick watch. So this data table, right, you can see there are multiple rows and columns. If you open up columns, right, now you can have something called non-public members list. Here you can see you have student number, you have student name, student email, parent and all. Right? Similarly, if you go to column, if you go to rows, right, and list, and you can see result to view, you have one row. In one row, you can see the item array, which is your the John and all the data. Now it's a cuts of data which you have, right, where you have to go, drill down through this. But you can see your data table is filled with your data. Fine. So for debugging, you can actually use this window. So to drill down to your data. Fine. Now you can see each row whenever I am reading, it will actually give me. So this is how we can actually read data using data. Now, what if I have multiple data sets? What does it mean by multiple data sets? Which means I can actually continue from query to get multiple tables of access. So let me run this. So let me execute this. Now I can see I'm using two different. Now when I use with semicolon, which means it will give you two different sets. Let me run this execute. Can you see this? You are getting two different data set returns. One, the old recipe which you have, right, which meets your parameters, and immediately after that you have a semicolon and you are actually calling one more query, which means it will return a second set. Now this is important. This is something which you are going to use in real time, right? reading multiple data sets using same query or same SQL. Now, how can I read this data using my data adapter? Now you can understand why I was stressing on, even if you have a row, right, your data set will actually get a table first, which means if you have multiple things, then your data set will be filled with multiple tables. That's it. Now what we have to understand is how to read multiple data tables, right? So instead of reading data, reading data to getting each table, right, you can actually read table 0, and then read table 1, read table 2 and all. But instead of doing that, what we can do, we can actually create a loop for even tables. Let's say you have a data table, let me call it as beauty in your data set dot tables. You don't have to rely on whether you want each table or not. So let me loop on this. Right? So what you are doing, you are reading each data table, which is DT. Right? So in each DT, you are reading. If you have a data table, yes, you are completely reading all the rows from data table and then again going back to another table. Now here, let me put console dot write line. So here let me increase the space. Now this will read a different data set, completely two different data sets. So let's run this and see how it works. Now you can see here split. Let's do one thing. In this SP, instead of calling everything that star, let's do only a few columns. So let me call roll number, student name and field name. Let's not call create data and all. So select your roll number and everything, and we have a semicolon, and then let's call only roll number student. Run this and let me run this display again. Now you get only roll numbers, not created and all. Now let's go back and run this way. Okay. Here because it will match no problem. Okay, perfect. Now we are getting data in a software. Now, so we can see the first table, 3, John, and so and so, right? And you can see the second where you are getting all the details, right? Now, anyways, so you don't have to get only those tables, right? Let me run it again so that you can get everything. Because we have to actually print data in a right format. Now you can see we print data right now. The first table you got everything. You have roll number, right, name, email ID, and so on. And then you have the complete second data set. So in this way, any number of data sets you have, right, you can actually get. And what I mean is, if we, let's say, we're going to call this multiple times, let's say, right? Let's say I'm going to call this multiple times, where if I run this now, you can see you're getting 4 different data sets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Run this here. Now you don't have to worry about your program, because the program will give you 1, 2, 3, 4 data sets. Right? It will return you 4 data sets and you know which data set is, which data set contains each value. So this is how we can actually read data using data set. Right? So data using data set, in turn, the data set will be filled with your adapter. Right? All your tables, whatever you are getting in data set is actually retrieved and dumped by your SQL data adapter. Right? and your SQL data adapter internally uses the command to actually run the right. So this is how you can use SQL data adapter and SQL data set. And your data set is common across different databases. You know the SQL adapter is mainly, you can see here, SQL adapter is mainly for system.data.sql client and SQL data adapter, right? Which means you can use this SQL data adapter only to retrieve data from SQL Server, your Microsoft SQL Server, right? So whereas your data set, right, you can use this dataset class. You can see dataset is under your system.data namespace, which means you can use dataset for multiple databases, right? Whatever adapters, you have multiple adapters for different, like separate for Oracle, separate for ADBs and SQL queries, right? So whatever data adapters are capable of filling datasets, there you can use. That's why your dataset is not classified in your SQL query or specific to the provider, right? It is common across the providers. So this is about the ADO document we have, where we have seen, how to connect database, how to retrieve database, how to communicate to database, right? How to call different SPs, how to call different DML operations like update or select or right? What are different type of returns we get, and then a different type of reading data using data and data.